What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I want to give you guys a quick market update as Bitcoin is getting a little drop to the downside, and we do actually have some bearish signals popping up on Market Cypher B. So I want to make you guys all aware of this in case you've been missing the live streams, because if these bearish signals do wind up playing out, we could be potentially in store for a little bit more of a drop on Bitcoin. So I just want to prepare the Mafia by taking a look at these next key levels to the downside. How low can we go? And if we do get the bigger drop, where are we going to be looking for those bounces? And then at the end of the video, guys, I'm going to actually go over a bit more of a bearish case here, kind of my worst case scenario, at least up until this point. Things could get very bearish or very bullish very quick here on Bitcoin, guys, especially with the volatility we've been seeing. So I want to break everything down for you guys, give you my trading plan, give you my thoughts on where price is going to go next. So without further ado, Mafia, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. So, guys, here we are on the Bitcoin chart. And first off, guys, I want to start off on the higher time frames. Now, obviously, if you watch the live streams, you will know there are a few different bearish signals we've been looking at, potentially calling for some lower prices, and it all starts here on the weekly time frame. But before I talk about that, guys, I just want you to understand that I know this drop down seems very scary, but in the grand scheme of things, when in doubt, please zoom out on the chart. I'm not saying that this can't wind up being a very strong top for a much bigger drop to the downside, but in the grand scheme of things, guys, if you've been in this market for more than 2 weeks, you've endured much worse dumps than this back here for a 30% dump. I know it feels crazy because when price goes up in a straight line, it feels like it's never going to end, but nothing goes up in a straight line forever, not even Bitcoin. 20, 30, and even 32, 33% pullbacks in a bull market are not uncommon here, guys. You can see back here in the previous cycle, we got a nice little 17% dump to the downside after a big move up. Even up here, this one was a little bit more drastic to about 31 to 32% to the downside before doing what? Just continuing to the upside. So in a bull market like we're in right now, guys, you know, we can look at the charts in the grand scheme of kind of this context, right? We can see pullbacks, but generally in a bull market, we don't really see price go down super, super heavy unless we have some kind of a black swan, which is impossible to actually predict. But sometimes you can see those moves on the chart, even if it's based off a black swan, before that news actually comes out. Now, I'm not trying to predict a black swan here, but I just want to kind of let you guys know, when in doubt, zoom out, right? This isn't really that significant of a move, at least just yet. But like I said, on the weekly here, we are getting some bearish signals. So let's go ahead and jump on into that right now. So we are getting that weekly red dot to print here, guys. Now, not only do we have a red dot on the weekly, but we also have higher highs on our price action with our lower highs on our momentum waves, giving us that weekly bearish divergence. Now, typically weekly bear divs can be very, very, very bearish, and they can give us much bigger moves to the downside. However, assuming that we are in a bull market here, guys, and money flow stays in the green on these higher time frames, we could potentially anticipate still to look for higher lows on price to come back up and put in new higher highs, just like we see these pullbacks in the previous bull market. You get a little bit of a push down, you get another move up, little push down, bigger move up. So, you know, we in a bull market, you know, you do still have to kind of look through the lens of those bull goggles, but that weekly bearish divergence can easily give us a little bit more of a spill to the downside. And I just want to bring this to your attention again, if you have not seen the live streams. Now, on top of that, we've also had a bunch of high daily time frame red dots print, such as the 6-day, the 5-day, the 4-day, etc. Now, these are confirmed, and we are starting to get that pullback. So, you know, we could see this pullback continue. And again, this is the whole point of this video, is to go over those lower levels and kind of look at the worst case scenario, at least in the medium term for Bitcoin. Now, another thing we've been looking at on the live streams, guys, is sitting here on the daily time frame. You guys can see we have a daily bearish divergence on top of the weekly bear div. You have higher highs on your price action, lower highs on your momentum waves. Even if you pull this back to the last significant high that we made here at about 93.8, you guys can see price is just trending up as momentum is coming down. That gives us that bearish divergence, and oftentimes these do give us some kind of significant push to the downside. Now, again, in a bull market, guys, these do not typically play out like you would expect. However, if you come back here, you can see we had bearish divergences here back in the 2021 bull run here. This is technically 2020, but it was the 2021 bull market. You guys can see we had higher highs on our price action, lower highs on our momentum waves. We got a drop to the downside, but again, it was very quickly eaten up and bought back to the upside for much, much higher prices on Bitcoin. Now, not only do we have the weekly bearish divergence, we have the daily bearish divergence, we also have money flow coming out now on the 4-hour time frame, which is something else we've been looking at on the live streams. This would indicate that within the context of the 4-hour time frame, the trend is likely to continue to the downside as long as we can stay in the red here. I don't know if you guys can see that. We are just starting to get that crossover into the red. So this is just another bearish puzzle piece that I'm going to be keeping my eye on. So if that money flow stays in the red, red. Even if we get pushes to the upside, I will be looking at those as lackluster retracements for continuations down to lower prices. Now, can we get fake outs on money flow in a bull market? Absolutely, especially when it's coming into the red. We saw that just happen back here. We had a money flow crossover into the red, but we actually anticipated this to be a fake out because when you're in a bull market, typically you do get fake outs into the red. You actually don't spend a lot of time in the red with your money flow in a bull market. If I come back here to the 2021 bull market, you can see on the 4-hour time frame, almost every single time we came back down, we got another rip to the upside, came back down, another rip to the upside, came back down, another rip to the upside. Even the crossovers, this is what we were comparing that last fake out to, right? You come into the red, but what happens? Price puts in a higher high and you break structure to the upside. And that is the same exact thing that we wound up seeing here. Money flow came into the red, we wound up putting in that higher high and then breaking structure to the upside, right? Because that is likely to happen in a bull market with those fake outs on money flow into the red. However, with the weekly bear div, with the daily bear div, with the money flow coming out on the medium hourly time frames, this could be a little bit more serious of a crossover. And again, I'm not calling for the bull market to be over just yet, but it could give us a continuation down. And that brings us to our next key levels of support. And very simply, guys, right now we have some pretty key levels. Right now, we are basically just kind of bing-bonging around in this local volume profile. I know this drop down seems scary, but, we're basically just kind of going sideways here. We deviated above the high, we came back down below the low, but we are generally just finding some kind of balance inside of this volume profile. So the idea here is if we wind up losing this area of balance, where can we look down below? Now, I will say we do have a golden pocket / daily naked point of control sitting down here below with an anchored VWAP in beautiful confluence. We also have a 786 of this local fib that we're looking at. We're tapping a local golden pocket. The 786 of that fib pull comes down in this zone as well. So this is somewhat of a confluent zone in my own personal opinion. Anchored VWAP, golden pocket, 786, and your daily naked point of control, right? So this is a local level. If we lose this range, that the first level I will be looking down to for key support. And an honorable mention here, we do have the 786 sitting at about 89,350. However, if we lose this range decisively, remember, guys, price is always seeking fair value. Fair value is within the volume profiles. So we now have some kind of fair value up here. If we lose this fair value or this area of balance and we get imbalance to the downside, where is price likely going to get attracted to? It's going to get attracted to previous areas of balance. You're probably asking yourself, Frankie, well, where is that next area of balance? Well, very simply put, it is sitting down here from this last little area of consolidation, right? We have this value area, which acted as support on the POC value area high right here, where we did take a long in the premium Discord. And then we had another drop down to that level right here. It held up as support once again once we got that big liquidation wick. But if we get rejected out of this area of balance above and we get imbalance to the downside, we are very likely going to fill this wick, this last big liquidation wick that we wound up getting back here on the 5th, right? I do think if we wind up losing this range, we're probably going to go ahead and go to fill that wick, right? And that value area sitting down below is sitting with your value area high at 92,173. Your POC is pretty close in confluence with that at about 91,293. But if we do come down here and we wind up losing that POC, guys, I am going to look for a potential quick drop down to the value area low at about 88K. And this is kind of the first big level of support that I'm going to be looking at about 88K, honestly, all the way down to about 85K. And it's for a very specific reason. And that is that we probably still have a lot of liquidity sitting below these lows that this wick actually missed. All these people down here that are long are probably still holding those longs, hoping for Bitcoin to go to $1 million so they can get rich overnight, and all their stop losses are likely sitting below all of these lows, and more importantly, below this wick at about 85K. So if we lose this POC, I would potentially anticipate price to start moving pretty quickly from this POC down to that value area low as you start to trigger some potential extra liquidations that are sitting below these higher lows. And you can actually see this visualized on the liquidation heat map. You can see those hot yellow bars do start to pick up at around $89,300, which is basically showing all that liquidity that is sitting below those higher lows that did not get hit by this wick. You can see the wick came out, took out some of the liquidity, and we do still have some liquidity sitting down below there. And that is why I would be anticipating a loss of this POC, not only to get a quick move to the value area low based off the laws of the volume profile. Once you get accepted below the value area high, you're looking to go to the POC, lose the POC, go to the value area low. But once those liquidations start to trigger, it could cause a pretty big liquidation wick down to those levels, right? Now, if we wind up deviating below this range, right, there is another key level that I'm going to be looking at, which basically brings us all the way down to about $85,000, where we have this golden pocket retracement leading all the way down to this range low, which again could be another area where we have a lot of liquidations. So if we do get the drop down, get accepted into this range, we could get moving pretty quickly to the value area low. And then if we deviate below here, this golden pocket is going to be a big level. Now, if we start cracking 85K, we may start to see those liquidation wicks come in, right? So I will be looking for trades down here at this golden pocket, especially if we come down here and sweep out these lows. This will be an area, if we're able to hold it, that I will be looking for a bounce off of. Now, will that bounce bring us back to all-time highs? It's a little too early to tell at this point, but that is definitely going to be a big key level that I'm looking at. Now, if we're unable to hold $85,000, guys, I will bring up kind of that worst case scenario. And that worst case scenario could be that we get a move down to about $80,000. Now, we do have key support down at $80,000. If we pull our Fibonacci retracement from where price started to get impulsive here, right before we broke that high here at about 74,000 and went into price discovery, as you can see, our golden pocket comes in at about $80,000, and then that 786 is coming in at about $74,000. Now, I hope that we do not have to come down here, guys, because if we come down here, this is going to be like the most important level of support in my opinion. Now, don't forget, we do have the CME gap sitting at about 77K. This is kind of that last level that I would be willing to come down and test before another massive big move to the upside. However, if we start losing that CME gap, and more importantly, the 786, we are potentially going to be at risk of coming back down into this larger volume profile that we accumulated in for about 7 months between about $70,000 and $60,000. Nobody wants to come back in here, and that is why I'm saying if we did get a bigger drop to the downside, we would really hope that we can get a big bounce off that golden pocket at about $80,000. So if we do go fill that CME gap, you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on this retracement level, because once you lose that 786, that is going to be very bearish for Bitcoin in my personal opinion. And again, we could reassess the situation if and when we get there. I'm not necessarily saying that we have to get down there, but I want you guys to be prepared in case some kind of big dump comes in and that weekly bear div does just wind up playing out how you would expect it to, even though we're in a bull market. These prices can come in pretty quickly, right? And if back here on this big liquidation wick didn't put that into perspective, how fast this market can move, hopefully this kind of gave people the idea of like, okay, we could move a lot in a very short period of time, right? So you want to keep an eye on this Fibonacci retracement. And again, that is pulled from this where price got impulsive before we broke the all-time high, went into price discovery. But hopefully we don't have to come down there, guys. Again, you have the CME gap down here, the golden pocket. Hopefully we don't have to come play with these levels. I would really prefer not to see that. However, we do have a lot of support leading up to that we could potentially hold. So if we get that next big drop to the downside, guys, locally, the next level I'm going to be looking at is about 92,150, right down to about 91,200. And then if we lose that, that's where I'm looking down to between 88 and 85,000. Once we start losing that, that's where I think the next likely stop for Bitcoin is probably going to be closer to $80,000 even. And that is typically where you start to clench up a little bit and hope that the support holds, because again, we don't want to get accepted into that lower volume profile. But those bearish signals are technically on Market Cypher B. Hopefully we can hold some of these local levels of support. But if not, I wanted the Mafia to be aware of those bigger key levels down below. And just remember, guys, pullbacks of 20 to 30% are not uncommon in a bull market. I know a lot of people are going to say there's no way we're going to lose 90K, right? Just understand that pullbacks in a bull market are definitely possible. Bitcoin is a volatile asset, although as the asset matures, it gets a little less volatile. You know, these dumps and these pullbacks in bull markets are not uncommon. So, you know, it doesn't mean that we're just guaranteed to continue up here. But, you know, when you're looking at these red candles, I know it's hard to see so much green, and then you see some red daily candles. You're like, oh my God, we're going to zero. So I just want to put that in perspective. We do have support down below, and we do get, you know, 30% pullbacks in bull markets sometimes. But, you know, those bearish signals are on Market Cypher B. Daily bear div, weekly bear div, money flow coming out. So, you know, we could easily continue down to some of these levels. But now you guys know not only the local levels, but also those high time frame macro levels that we really, really want to hold if we can get down there. So hopefully you guys are prepared. Hopefully this helped you guys out. And with all that being said, guys, that's all the time I got for today's market update. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss these urgent market updates. Regardless of what happens, guys, the Mafia is going to be making money trading Bitcoin, whether the price goes up or down. And I will keep you guys updated on these market updates and the live stream every single weekday at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's all the time I got for today's video. I'll see you in the next one. Frankie Candles out.
Go. At the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy. On the road, here we go, yeah, we winning by